Okay, you're very welcome back to the Rossie Podcast. I'm joined this week by Diarmuid, Murtagh and Conor Hussey to look ahead to the senior final on Sunday between St. Brigid's and Padraig Pearses. Lads, you're both very welcome. Conor, might start with yourself. Having played in the championship, you actually were the team who have beaten St. Brigid's, so maybe you're best placed to talk about how Padraig Pearses could go about stifling Brigid's, because they are the favourites and rightfully so.
Yeah, Darragh, thanks for having me. I'm not sure now if I have that much insight, to be honest. Look, that game was a good performance from us on that day, but it was, at the end of the day, it was a group stage game. There wasn't anything really at stake. Both teams were right through, so I kind of came off the field that day thinking to myself that this wouldn't be the last we see of Brigid's all year. That's kind of the way it's turned out. So, look, Pearses are going to have to play very well on Sunday to overcome Brigid's. It's kind of a hard game to call. I'm actually looking forward to the game, to be honest. I think they're two extremely good sides. You can just look at the odds there early on, and for Ireland, and both teams are high up in the odds. So, look, it's going to be a good game, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, because Diarmuid, it kind of shows the strengths of the Roscommon Club Championship that Pearse has got to the final last year. They'll probably have regrets losing that game. The year before that, Brigid's win it there in the All-Ireland Club Final. Again, may have regrets not winning that game. Pearse, a few years before that, won a Connacht club as well. So Roscommon Club football is in a good place.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good championship, actually. You see some of the results this year. Even both our clubs, myself and Conor, we beat the two teams that were in the final, and then obviously played each other. But then we were convincingly bet by Pearses again. So on the day, anything can happen in a lot of those games, which makes it very exciting from the neutral, and it makes it very exciting as a player that you're going into the championship with that bit of hope that you can pull off maybe something special that year. But look, it's no coincidence the two teams, old rules, new rules, the cream always rise to the top, and the two of these teams are in the final again. So it's credit to both sets of players and how they have adapted, and yet they're still at the top of Roscommon football, senior football. So it should be a fascinating game at the weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Very hard to call. Like I probably would have said with the new rules that Brigid's would have been very heavy favourites. Say when the new rules when they changed, if they were playing Pearses, who a lot of people actually started to play like Pearses with the old rules, like they were very difficult to beat. And just as the rules changed, we thought that Pearses might struggle a small bit, but if anything, I think they've gotten better with the new rules. They're a lot more direct. It suits a lot of their players. They've a lot of pace that they don't get credit for as well on their team. So two teams that should match up very well. So the duels around the pitch should be really interesting, and how both teams match up with each other with matchups especially.
Yeah, obviously you bet Pearses in the first game. Now they were missing a few players, but what was the big difference between that first game and the semi-final that you played a few weeks ago?
Yeah, probably the few players that they were missing. No, I suppose they were probably, in fairness, they're after coming off getting to a Connacht final the year before. And actually had a good league this year in Roscommon. Well, usually if a team goes far in the provincial, usually they struggle in the league, but Pearse has actually hit the ground running. I suppose they probably had strong outfits in a lot of those games. Even some of the county players got to play some of their league games, so that probably helped them in the league. I suppose in that first game they were missing a few lads, but they probably were confident still coming down that they get a result, and maybe they got the wake up call they needed against us, because they had no easy game against Clonagale up in Woodmount 2 weeks later. So a lot of credit has to go to them. I suppose we targeted that game as well. We knew they were going to be missing a few lads, a few in America, so it'd be naive of us not to set out to put all our eggs in one basket and get that win, because you nearly know in the Roscommon Championship, if you get one win, you could be guaranteed nearly third place if results go your way. So we were like, why not start off the championship well? But they obviously learned from that. And actually, if you watch that game back, and it's we probably did well to win that game. Pearse started very well in that game, and they could have got maybe 1-4 to no score up, and we would have struggled after that. So it wasn't as if they played bad against us that we probably got maybe the rub up the green. I actually thought in the first half, in the semi-final, we played better than the first half against them when we beat them. So they're missing the players, like the few players back, and then when you get players back, the positions then, so the likes of your, say, Declan Kenny, he can go into he doesn't have to be in a central position, and he causes threats from all over the pitch then. There's not as much pressure on him to be winning kickouts all the time, so he can influence the play, and he's not worried about maybe getting back as much. So if you're missing players in club football, it means that you have to play someone somewhere else. So I think that has helped them. Like, they're a very well balanced team now.
I think, Dermot, though, if you look at it, actually, Pearses historically, they kind of do start a little bit slower sometimes. Maybe don't come out of the blocks as fast as other teams, other big teams. And even I was at the Oran game this year up in Kiltoon, and Oran gave them plenty of it. But they seemed to, and I know the week before, Boyle, the week after, excuse me, in the worst apparently Boyle should have beaten them, like, so in normal time, but then they pushed on again, like, so they have serious strength and depth, and they seem to be getting stronger and stronger. And
I think that happened to them when they got to the All-Ireland semi-final. They beat Tusk in a prelim quarter-final as well in the Hyde, and they went on to win it that year. Was that the year I think they won Connacht and lost to Kilmacud in the semi-final? So it seems to suit them, kind of playing more games and getting used to playing with each other and building up confidence. And they seem they're full of confidence now going into the final. I suppose probably the disadvantage for Pearses is that we've seen more of them, and Brigid's have probably watched more of their games, and we haven't seen maybe the best of Brigid's yet, even though they did very well to dig it out against Clan. They played very well against Roscommon Gales, but I still feel like there's another level in them. Whereas then they come off the pitch as a team feeling like we played well, even though they won some of their games well. But I feel like there might be something a bit extra in Brigid's yet, and I think the Hyde will suit them as well. And who knows what the conditions will be like too. So like, it mightn't be a day for 2-pointers where Pearses have been kicking a lot of those, and the ball is getting it wetter, heavier, won't travel as far. So it'll be very interesting to see now.
Yeah, because Conor, I mean, Bridges seem to be, I don't know, is it a tactic? Maybe not suit them to ignore the 2-pointers, whereas Pearses, on the other hand, seem to be going for them. You know, Carey, Hubert Darcy, you know, they have a lot of players there that can kick 2-pointers. Do you think, say, because look, you both know the Hyde as well, and we don't know what the conditions will be like, but generally in the Hyde there is a wind going, you know, down the pitch. The Pearses win the toss, play with the wind in the first half, that they're going to go for the 2-pointers and try and build up a lead. It is dangerous though at the same time, because it can drain your confidence if you're missing them.
Definitely, yeah. I was up in Woodmount for the semi-final with Clonagale and Brigid, and Brigid won the toss that day and went for the wind, and they made an awful effort at shooting for 2-pointers, and it kind of didn't suit their game, to be honest. They actually probably played better in the second half against the wind. So I'd say they might go back to the old style, the old way they play. I think Brigid are incredibly good at, say, carrying the ball up to the attacking third, setting screens, setting backdoor cuts, and all that kind of stuff. And I agree with Jim. I don't think Brigid's will be overly happy with how they've played this year in the championship so far. And I do think they have the ability to catch fire. And if they do catch fire up front, they could be extremely hard bet. So, like, I think the odds are a little bit possibly underestimating Pearses and how close Pearses get to this game. I'm giving Pearses a great chance, but I do still think that maybe Brigid's on their day, if they catch fire in the Hyde, if the weather is decent on Sunday, they could also open up and be extremely hard to stop. But on the other hand, then I suppose Pearses have massive 2-point shooters. Like, Carey is flying it, Declan Kinney is flying it, Hubert Darcy can kick them. I know Conor Ryan has the 2-point freeze off the ground too. So they seem to be better suited to 2-pointers from that side of the game.
Yeah, just on that point there, Huz, I was very impressed with G against Brigid's, it'll be intriguing to see how both defenses set up, because their teams are kind of getting caught between, especially when it's with the wind or against the wind, do you push out man to man? But I think, like, he did very well against Brigid's, that you kind of, this new buzzword of a low block, like, he kind of set up around the arc and you're very difficult to break down. I wonder, will Pearses do that, or will they push out? Because I actually think both teams are very good. They can kind of vary it up, like you were saying, like, when you set up in a low block, they're very good at, like, say, getting depth inside and then getting runners. Like, you have the likes of Eddie Nolan there for Brigid's. If you watch him against Clan, some of his runs just straight down the middle. If he's not tracked, he gets it. If he is tracked, it leaves a hole for, say, your Conor Hands to cut in, or Ben O'Carroll, or Brian Derwin, Owen Derwin, whoever's playing there. So it'll be very interesting to see how teams set up. Like, will they go all out with their matchups on the arc, or will they just set up and cover and say have the 11 around the arc, or will they have to go a bit, push out a bit further on lads? Because that is kind of a problem when you're playing both of those. Like, you can't have 8 matchups, which you'd love to have against them. So you have to kind of sacrifice who's the most dangerous threat on their team.
I think if you're playing Brigid's, I think you kind of have to defend as a team, I suppose, just as Jim was saying there, you can't pick 2 or 3 players to match up, because if you do, you're going to leave space in behind, and they're just so good at kind of carrying the ball to the arc, and they're setting those screens, and they're incredibly hard to defend. You almost always need to have like an extra player from the weak side tucking in. So
Yeah.
I think on the far side, I'd say Bridges will definitely have a few matchups in mind. But Pearses, I think, go back to the old way they defend, where they try to get extra bodies around. They try to have that bit of a drift defense, and see how that goes from there.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting.
Yeah, like Conor, you look at the Bridges team, like they arguably have scores, on every line of the pitch. Have they more of a spread of a scores than Pearses would say?
To be honest, I'd say they're kind of fairly similar. Like I was up again watching Follies and Pearses, and I was so impressed with, say, some of Pearses' younger players. Like they're really coming into their own now, like the likes of Jack Tumulty, Owen Collar, and Sean Canning. I haven't seen much of Sean Canning this year, and he was really impressive. Like, so I do think it's fairly well matched, to be honest. But again, obviously Bridges has an exceptional 15, and they do have massive scores. I suppose one thing I would say is that I do think Bridges are a bit more structured in their attack than Pearses. I think Pearses rely maybe a little bit more on kind of individual quality, and that might tie into 2-point shooters a bit too. I think it just kind of threw off the shackles a little bit. They could cause a bit more damage maybe than they are doing at the minute. I know against us that day, they probably kind of passed up a lot of shooting chances, especially in the first half. Whereas if they just put the head down, they'd nearly be going through on goal a few times. So I do think, again, they have that ability to catch fire. They might have caught fire just yet, but I'd be really interested to see if they do catch fire at the weekend and how Pearses can handle them.
Yeah, because I think Diarmuid probably efficient is the way I describe Bridges so far. Like very convincing win against Roscommon Gale, so that can't be, you can't turn your nose up at that. And Clonagale Gale to win by 5, but it feels like, as you said, there seems to be just more in them. Like
Yeah.
maybe they haven't got that full on test in the knockout stages just yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate how good Bridges were in that second half against Clan. Like we played against Clonagale. Clonagale are a very good team, really good team. They're very defensively solid, very strong defensively. We struggled against them that day. We played them in Strokestown. So I think how Bridges controlled that second half, like everything was set up for Clan to win it in that second half with the wind. They were playing well. They controlled the first half. I think it was like 3-3 or 3-2 halfway through the first half, or even 20 minutes. So like Bridges, they are still playing well. Like they're grinding out those results. I wouldn't like that second half was probably a bit more impressive than their game against Roscommon Gales, in my opinion. So, yeah, no, it'll be very interesting to see. I think both teams are really going to go after each other. That's what's going to make it really fascinating. Both teams think they're better than each other, and they're going to push hard on each other's kickouts. And it's going to probably, I know it's kind of the obvious thing to say, but all the games now are coming down to that midfield battle. If you're breaking 60-40 in the midfield battle, like both teams have the forwards and the half back lines that are going to do damage, and that's where it will be decided. And like I think both teams are very big around the middle, and they'll probably set up with a block of 4 across the middle, I'd say. But like you just have to look at like Shane Canan, Eddie Nolan, Rory Fallon, and Stacky. They're going to be the 4 at the back. Like that's impressive. They're 4 inter-county players with experience to try and give Bridges the platform. And if they're smashing the ball back into the Pearses half, and Conor Hann and Paul McGrath, who I think is one of the most underestimated players in Connacht. I think he's a fantastic player for Bridges. Like he doesn't get the credit, but he rules the roost for them. So like them boys are getting on the ball. If they're getting on the ball consistently, they're going to do a lot of damage, and vice versa. Then like Conor Ryan has been very impressive for Pearses. I just think maybe that's where I think Bridges might have the advantage, just around that middle area, just with the experience of those lads. And they'll know they'll need big games to win the game, and they'll be up for it, especially after losing to Pearses last year in the quarterfinal as well.
Yeah, and the player you'll know, obviously, you both play with him, Niall Daly. We don't really know where he is at with fitness wise, and you're on about the midfield battle. Like Niall Daly is the man you want from a Pearses perspective round there. Like he's nearly the heartbeat of the team. And even in the Boyle quarter final, when I think there were 6 or 7 down with 10 minutes to go, he actually comes on, doesn't really actually touch the ball, but it's almost like he gives the whole team a lift. So from their perspective, they'll be obviously mad for him to get on the pitch, whether it's from the start or some bit.
I think you'll see now daily if the game is in the melting pot, which it probably will be more than likely with about 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go. It's just, I want to touch on what Diarmuid said there about kickouts. I've seen a good few games recently, and an awful lot of the games are mirroring each other in terms of the kickouts. Like, that's one I kind of think negative about the new rules, is that if there's any kind of a slow play at all, a team sets up a zonal press, it's very, very hard to go short. So eventually, or essentially, I know with Lavies and Foyles be quite similar in this, we just end up lumping the ball long. Like, there's not a whole pile of tactical work you can do around that. And I always find that it's nearly easier to win an opposition long kick out than your own long kick out,
Yeah, it
because
is.
you're
It's
pushing the
fact, yeah.
ball backwards to where it came from, as opposed to trying to come under it and go the opposite way. So I think Jeremy made a great point there. Paul Whelan is very, very good at kind of the really short kick out. It's usually to David Murray on, say, his left hand
That
side.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Brigid to be all over that big time. So they will not want to allow Paul to go towards that. And the far side, I think Conor Carroll probably has a little bit more of he has a few different short to medium kickouts in his locker. I think Brigid's are really good, say, from a quick score. They come out through the middle, and Conor's looking for the kind of mid-range kickout to get Brigid set again. So that could be a massive aspect of the game, because like if you lose 2 or 3 or 4 long kickouts in a row, you can actually lose a game in a 5-minute spell, no bother. So neither team want that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing with county finals across the board as well. Like they're very close. Like Sligo was a draw, Mayo was a draw, Donegal went to extra time. I think Laois and a few others. So has the new rules enhanced, club football? Like, you both played in the championship there this year. Jared, start with yourself. Did you enjoy the club championship more than you did last year? I know you got to the same stage and same outcome,
Yeah.
but in terms of an enjoyment of playing the game.
He enjoyed Dean's also, that's for sure.
It's all about that. Yeah. But no, like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I suppose it kind of, in one sense, it makes the strong team stronger, but then it also gives you a chance. Like, if you're with a win or you keep the game tight, you always have a chance. If you were the underdog, you could kick a few 2-pointers. I've really enjoyed it. Like, I suppose last year, like, we played Pearses in the semi-final, and they had so much experience and so well defensively set up. Like, we were doomed to fail. Like, we were never going to break them down and score enough with how good they are at the back. Whereas this year, in kind of those games, we felt like if we could get on top of them, we may pull off a shot, which we did in the first game and even in the semi-final. But they used to be so well defensively set up with 14 or 15 men. It was very hard to break down. And you've one lad then man marking you on the sideline, pushing and pulling you, and as a forward. But if you get by him, you're meeting 13 other men. Whereas now it's kind of, you can drift out a bit. You can kind of get your player 1-on-1, and you might quick 1-2, and you could be true on goal. But no, I thought it was very exciting. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the club championship. I actually just feel like you're going into the unknown in all those games. Like, you genuinely thought, you were saying, Huz, those games there where you're nearly shooting, and if it went wide, you didn't care because you knew the other team had to kick it out against you, and you could get momentum anyway. So it kind of gave that bit of a jeopardy in the games, I suppose. So, like, you're kind of going into the unknown, playing all those games. I don't know what you thought, Huz, but I really enjoyed it. There's a bit more like kind of chaos to the games, I suppose.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Look, it was kind of probably a little bit harder as a defender when you have more space to game, but overall, I think it's just a more enjoyable game. Attacking with is it 11 players you're attacking with? It's just more space to attack with. Even I know back in the old rules, like, I always felt as a defender for coming up, like, by the time you get up there, there's no space. There's nowhere to go really. But now I think there's a lot more space to attack. I do still think there's a few things they could tweak. I don't know. I think it's that ship has sailed now, unfortunately. But some of the 2-point frees, like, the last day, Stroketown in the first half, sorry, I think Stroketown, one of their backs picked the ball off the ground by accident. The ball came in, and he kind of went through the region. And that could have been a 2-point. That's 2/3 of a goal for such a simple mistake. Is that really a fair penalty?
That is actually, that's a good point there. I know I'm one that takes frees, and I happily take them all day for the 2-pointer arc. But I do agree with you. I feel like it's very difficult for a ref because some of the frees are frees, but I think it's very harsh on the defender. Some of the frees that are given for the punishment, of the actual tackle.
Yeah.
Like, like, some tackles maybe a borderline fouls, but a fella's trying to do the right thing and he's been punished to concede 2 points for that. It's a very difficult one. I'd agree with that. I think it is a bit unfair to have a team being punished and a player being, like, say, scrutinised by his own team for fouling someone that it might be like borderline a free and not. So yeah, I have to agree with the 2 point freeze. I think it's very harsh on the team. Very
I
harsh.
yeah, I think such a frustration one. I think there was even a game earlier in the year, where Offaly were playing. It was an unbelievable goal Offaly score, and then I think Kildare or something got a 2 point free 30 seconds later, and it was cut to a point, and you're the kind of thing. But you can see why it's there. Like if you're, for instance, David Clifford is lining up outside the 2 point arc, sure, if it's only going to be a 1 point instead of two, you're going to foul him. So maybe if it was a cynical foul to allow 2 points, but sure, look,
Yeah.
that's for. I think we're locked in with these rules anyways for another 5
Yeah.
years.
No point talking about them, I suppose.
No, we'll have to
Stop
appreciate
fouling
the
now.
Yeah. The solo own goal though. The solo own goal is very good. I enjoy that.
Yeah, but that seems
Yeah.
that seems to be the thing. And do you feel this in the games that are they too chaotic? I don't know. Is that a complaint to have, but that it can be completely up and down the whole game?
Oh, I'd be going off the head altogether. There's no control at all really anymore. And
Yeah.
I love control and all that buzzwords, but it's very, very hard to control the game now anymore at all. So look, I think it's better. It's more enjoyable to watch it, or more enjoyable to play it. I think it's better for everyone, to be honest.
It could be a case though. You could see on Sunday with Pearses and Brigid's, they could try and control the game. I think more so Pearses might try and do that and take the sting out of the game a bit. Like if a team is defending the arc, you can hold the ball out in front of them. Like, especially if a team is playing against the wind, I'd be very surprised if Pearses or Brigid's, if they're playing against the wind, which there probably will be a wind in the Hyde on Sunday, they will try and take this thing out of the game. And again, that'll be like who is the more experienced to do that. And that's why I'm kind of veering towards Brigid's with the four lads I mentioned that they have around the middle. Like, they're very good in the ball, and they might be able to just take that sting out of the game. That'll be important. And if there's a team playing against the wind, what's the margin at half time? Even psychologically, it's a boost if you're within touching distance and you have a big wind come. I know it doesn't always work like that, but like human nature there, it's easier to score with the wind, definitely.
Yeah, and Conor, you were at the Clan Bridges game, and it's kind of a weird one. But would Pearses be better off if Bridges have the wind to actually nearly entice them into the 2 point shots and drop off a small bit more, cut off the space into the likes of Ben and Bobby Nugent and that, take the gamble? Because Bridges did not. It felt a bit more forced. It wasn't. We mentioned the word control, and it felt like they were just out of their comfort zone because it was a strong wind over in Woodmount as well. So could they take a gamble on the first few and say, "Go on, have a go"?
They could definitely take a gamble, but they'll have to be willing to accept it if it backfires.
Yeah.
Up in Woodmount that day, it really looked like Regis almost flicked the switch when the coin was tossed, and they said, "We're going to go for 2 points right now." And I think they forced them a number of occasions, and they kind of left Clonagay in the game. As Diarmuid said, like, Clonagay were in prime position there, maybe 15 minutes to go to push on. They had the wind. I think they were only a couple of points down, but Bridges showed their experience to push on from there. So I think Bridges should just go back to playing the way they're most comfortable playing, and almost to a certain extent ignore the 2 pointer. If they're on, take them. But I think they're so good at what they do normally. I think that's the way they can play the game, and I think that's the best way they should go for Pearses on Sunday. But conversely, I think Pearses probably do need a few 2 pointers to win this game, which they're shooting the lights out. Like Declan Kinney kicked one against Foley, so it was ridiculous 2 pointer. It was nearly 50 yards out, I'd say. And Carey's flat out two of them too. So 2 pointers could play a massive role in the final on Sunday, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Vera, would you expect Brian Stack to take Paul Carey on Sunday?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know. I don't know if Bridges will take Stacky's game away from him by doing a man marking job. It depends on how they see the threat of Pearses. Like, will they think, well, we're just going to go after these? But like, naturally, the two of them will probably end up marking each other, because I think Paul comes out a bit more now. He's actually a good option for the kickouts. He's a big man. He throws his weight around, and he's actually a very good tackler too, that he doesn't get credit for. So I actually think they could naturally pick up each other anyways. I think Carey will come out and Stacky will probably end up picking him. Whether he goes for him from the get-go, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how Pierce Frost is. He would have been one that they probably would have matched up with someone.
Yeah.
I think as well, I think Hubert Darcy is one that needs to be closely watched. He can really control a game and do a lot of damage if he gets the ball into his hand. So I think he might be one. And then again, I look at some of the Brigid's unsung heroes like the Rory Smith, Niall McInerney, and those defenders like Owen Derwin. They're sticky, like they're well able to take a man out of the game. So I don't know if Brigid's will go. I think they'll be just happy whoever goes into their positions, that whoever's there will be capable. Now I think Rory Fallon will pick up Declan Kenny from aerial threat. Rory has a great spring, as does Deck. And I think his athletic ability, I think that could be a fascinating matchup that you'll have on Sunday. I think like Declan is very good for Pearses. I think Bridges will look to, I suppose, hammer the hammer with Declan. I think Rory will probably pick him up, I'd say. And Stacky, I think he'll be left to do his own thing and get him on the ball as much as possible.
What was interesting in the semi-final was that when Bridges had the wind, they basically played Stacky at 6. And the second half, when Kieran Lennon was the threat for the 2-pointers, they put him back in Kieran Lennon's.
Yeah.
So, again, the wind could play a massive factor. If Bridges have the wind in the first half, they might push him out and get him involved in the game, and then they might put him back in the second half or whatever, whenever they feel the need. But I think he's their key player, to be honest. I think if he plays well, Bridges can win the game. I think Snarley is not far off that, to be honest. I think he's so important to them.
Yeah. Anyone else you're looking at, Conor, the potential matchups?
Potential matchups, possibly Mark Richardson on Ben O'Carroll. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think so. It depends on how Pearses look at it. Like now, Mark marked say James Fitzpatrick, then he marked Darragh Craig, who played inside. Then he marked me, who I didn't play inside. Well, I lined out inside, but they would have known I probably came out the field a bit more. So I'm just wondering, do they think that Paul McGrath needs to be stopped out the field before the ball gets to Ben? Because I think Paul McGrath is so important for them. Like, I think he's on the same wavelength as Stacky with how important he is for them. So do they go all out and match Richardson up with Paul McGrath, who might play out the field? But like, yeah, I'd say he'll probably stay in on Ben, though. Like, you'd have to imagine the hide, and just trying to think who else would, like Conor Lohan, could put him out on Paul McGrath either. I think like both teams, I think they're happy enough with how they are. Or they could put David like, do you know what I mean? I think they'll be enough. They'll probably maybe have someone assigned for Ben, and I think after that they'll be happy enough who goes into their positions, who's marking who, like, because they're all experienced and they're all good defenders on both sides. So it'll be fascinating to see like who matches up. But it's hard to see Mark not picking up Ben. Again, no more than like Brigid's having Stacky free and available to do those jobs. I think Pearses will be the very same with David Murray.
Yeah,
the main supposed is him marking Bridges is best forward, but they might want him maybe staying as the extra 4 back just to give them a bit more cover and joining the attack as well, because he's very difficult to stop going forward, David, because he keeps going and he follows his run right into the end line, and if it's not tracked, he'll score. So I think Bridges be happy enough for him, or Pearses be happy enough for David to maybe not mark their main man, but be influence the play. It's kind of similar to what I said with Brian Stack as well.
Yeah, they seem to be free enough. David Murray, all right. Caleb Keogh was also doing a lot of kind of man-marking jobs. He stayed at the home a good bit. And I was very impressed with Conor Lohan the last issue. I thought he was really good against you.
Yeah. No, he's a strong bit of stuff now, and he gets stuck in. You know, like, he's kind of one of those, I feel like the new rules has suited, because he's one of those kind of last-ditch, hard-hitting defenders, and he comes out with big plays when they need it, and they kind of get energy off that. So, yeah, no, he's playing really well. He's playing really well. They're all playing with a lot of confidence, in fairness to them.
But you mentioned Paul McGrath there. I was interested to see too that against Follies, Pearses put Alan McGrail on Kieran.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I didn't really see him as that type of a marker, but like, he never left Kieran's sights that day at all. And he could be some man to mark, possibly, was you saying, Berger? And like, I think Conor next lights out for Roscommon to start the year. He has the ability to get 2 on a day, like, so that's another option.
Yeah, to do, like, they have a lot of players who are capable of doing those jobs. Pearses, like, you know, Calum, Ronan Daly could do a job like that. David Murray, you know, they're very flexible. That's why I think part of them might be happy. I'd say actually Adam McGreal after the last day would probably pick up someone like that. Actually, Paul McGrath is probably a man he'll pick up after you saying it there. I'd actually forgotten about him, that he picked up Kieran. So that could be a job that he'd do and try and take him out again. Or maybe Chandy, Conor Hand, yeah. you wouldn't know. Ronan could do that either. You know, a lot of pace, good at tracking the runs. So, yeah, it's fascinating, and like there's a lot of good players on the field on Sunday. A lot of good players in the field.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing for everyone else in the senior championship, Roscommon, like these two teams aren't aging. Like all the players we we named there, the vast majority of them are 21 to 26. You know, so these two teams won't be going anywhere. Before I get just both your predictions on the game, would you expect the winners of this to have a right good crack at Connacht as well? I think they're playing the Mayo champions. Whoever wins this, the Westport or Ballina, that's gone to a replay. But as what we said at the top, Pearses and Bridges have done well in Connacht. So you'd have to think that, geez, that they have a right good chance. Conor, I'll let you go
I'll
first.
let you go first, Con.
Well, I suppose a good way of thinking about it is I think Bridges and Pearses, like this weekend, go into the county final. They'll both be thinking about winning the Connacht Championship, and I'd say both of them be thinking about getting and winning an Ireland final. I think that's basically it. So I think they'll definitely have a big say, and whoever beats them, I'd say, will go a long way to winning the Connacht. That is Ballina, Westport, and so I think, like we mentioned, say the group game against us, like I'd say Bridges could have been training hard. You wouldn't know what could be going on. They could be looking at peaking in a couple of weeks, couple of months' time yet. So I think both of them will have a big say in the Connacht Championship, without doubt, yeah. Whoever wins,
Yeah.
of course.
As you were saying there about the odds, I actually think the Connacht champions could have a big say. I know you're into a semi-final, but I wouldn't be one bit surprised if the Connacht champions win the All-Ireland this year. You could have Salt Hill or Moy Cullen,
Oh yeah.
Ballina or Westport. I think Pearses or Brigid's are the top two teams in Connacht at the moment. Now you can never tell what way a game will go, and it'll all be on the day with the weather and conditions and stuff. But I think both teams are quite experienced for young teams. So I give them a great chance of winning Connacht, whichever team wins on Sunday. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so predictions. Well, I went Conor first there. So Diarmuid, who's going to win on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm not going to be on the fence with this one. I think the midfield battle is going to be very important, and I mentioned earlier on about how both teams are set up, and I think Brigid's will get enough ball around the middle, and I think they'll win the game.
Come on, Conor.
Well, if I had a free bet right now, I think I'm going to back the draw. I'm going to sit on the fence.
And that would mean a replay, by the way. There's no extra time.
Well, Pearses,
You'll win the replay then.
quarter final and the quarter final, both win to a draw in normal time. So I think there'll be feck all between the teams, to be honest, at the weekend, and I'm going to sit in the fence massively and not annoy anyone.
It's very difficult to call. Like literally, I think it'll come down to small things, small margins. Like I'm predicting Brigid's there, just to predict the team. But if Pearses win, I won't be shocked either. They're a very good team. So I just think Brigid's might have that experience, a bit more experience around the middle, even though Pearses have been very good around there. As I said, led by Conor Ryan. I think he's having a brilliant year. But I think the experience of those Brigid's lads around the middle, and four county players that I've named, I think they will have big games on Sunday. And I think that would be just the difference by 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's close. Anyways, we wouldn't mind a draw. We might head back for a replay maybe a week later. But just while I have you, before we go as well, on Roscommon matters, Diarmuid, I spoke to yourself a couple of months ago. We have a manager in place now in Mark Dow. Just your own thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I worked with Mark probably nearly half my career with different teams, and him being a coach and manager. I would have had him at under 20 at minor with Virgil O'Donnell in 2013, 2015 and 16 as our under 21 manager with Ian Daly, and then obviously with Anthony Cunningham as well. And look, he's a great man, really proud Roscommon supporter as well as been a manager, and I know it means a lot to him, and he leave no stone unturned. If Roscommon aren't performing next May or April, it won't be down to the lack of work from him anyway. So he'll provide Roscommon players with the best platform to succeed, definitely.
Yeah, and when I was chatting to you as well, Donny Smith had decided to retire. Your brother Kieran, I think it was last week or in the last 10 days, decided to retire as well. So it'll probably be a bit strange. I know Kieran has taken a year or two out here and there over the last 10 years. But it'd probably be strange just flying the flag yourself now next year.
Yeah, it's more so when you're traveling to training or something, and having the company going down in the car. But I know it will be strange. But look, he's one of those that will follow on with great interest, and he'll still give me advice on my own game and where to get better after each game. So he'll still be a big influence on me, even though he's not training with us or playing with us. But no, yeah, look, I hope he is a happy retirement now and he enjoys himself. He owes Roscommon football nothing, and let's hope he can give the club a good few years now.
That sounds
And we get success from that.
Yeah, well, he'll be in the full league next year, so for the club. So Foley is gay, anyways.
Yeah, hopefully.
And Conor, I know you have me playing with the county the last year, anyways. Have you any interest in going back? Obviously, managements change, and it all comes down to phone calls and that. But would you have an interest in going back?
I suppose, look, I wish I was 24, 23 again and kind of flying fit top of the ground. But look, I haven't kind of decided anything yes or no either way. But I'm not sure now if my best days they could be behind me, unfortunately. But look, we'll see how it goes. I haven't really thought about it too hard. I've been kind of doing a lot of media gigs and whatnot and enjoying the commentating and just trying to kind of get back in the gym and do a bit of running and whatnot and keep fit. So look, I'm just trying to keep my options open. But unfortunately, my best days could be behind me, I think.
Well, we'll let the management decide that.
Yeah.
We won't make any judgments. And just finally as well, Jerem is looking ahead to next year. Obviously, the FBD League is back as well, so it'll be an earlier start from a competitive point of view. I know the challenge matches still go on, but are you looking forward to getting back in? Because obviously this year, well, we won't harp on about it too much. It was disappointing from a championship perspective. So I'm sure that bit of motivation in itself, playing Division 1 and then going into the Connacht Championship and so on. I suppose you don't need any motivation really. It's there from the disappointment this year, I say.
Yeah, first of all, the FPD is great. It kind of gives structure to your preparations to the league. I find in January it was hard last year because you're playing challenge games. You don't know what other teams are teams they're putting out. Like last year before the league, we would have played Mayo, Dublin, and Kerry, and they'll be missing players, and you might be going well, and it might be a false sense of where you're at. So I think the FPD gives a good structure, and it gives lads a chance as well to impress more so. But yeah, I think the best thing that happened last year was getting out of Division 2. Like like if you're not excited training in pre-season to play those Division 1 games, like get more publicity, and they might be live in TG Cahir. Like it's really hard bet at that time of the year, like on a Saturday night playing a Division 1 game on TV, or Sunday at 2 o'clock there might be a double header on TV. So I think the Division 1, yeah, definitely is a great motivation. It was great to get out of Division 2 last year. And like with a new management, you always get that bounce. There should be great freshness there. And like new lads in, or lads who weren't in last year coming back in, will all see it as a brilliant opportunity to stake a claim on the team as well, because the year didn't end last year and there's a reason for that. So players will think that they can be the difference now if they're brought in or if they're brought back in. So it'll be very exciting now to see how pre-season goes and who puts their hands up. And yeah, it should be great competition for places now.
Well, we'll be looking on, and very best of luck with next year. And Conor, if you are back in, best of luck as well with the year ahead. And hopefully we get a good final on Sunday to cap off another good Roscommon.
If you saw us doing a fitness test now, you wouldn't think his best days are behind him, by the way.
Not anymore.
They still come in and win all the fitness tests.
The new rules in Division 1 in the high. We could be seeing you next year, Conor.
I'm telling you.
Well, look, lads, thanks very much for coming on. And yeah, hopefully a good game on Sunday to cap off a good year in the Roscommon Club Championship.
Thanks, Darragh.